He left. You grieved. You started putting yourself back together, slowly, painfully, one day at a time. And then, right when the fog was beginning to lift, right when you went a whole afternoon without checking his profile, he texted. Something casual, something that shouldn't mean anything. But your heart slammed into your ribs anyway because some part of you, the part you've been trying to quiet for weeks, whispered, "He came back." That has to mean something. It does mean something. Just not what you think. Every woman who's been in this cycle carries the same unspoken question. She won't post it. She might not even say it out loud, but it lives in the back of her mind every time he reappears. If he keeps coming back, doesn't that mean he loves me? Doesn't that prove I matter to him? Because if I didn't, why wouldn't he just stay gone? It's a reasonable question. It makes perfect logical sense, and it is the single belief that keeps the entire cycle alive. Because the answer, the real clinical uncomfortable answer, is that his return has almost nothing to do with love, and everything to do with how his nervous system manages emotional threat. To understand why he keeps coming back but never stays, you have to stop looking at this through the lens of romance and start looking at it through the lens of regulation. Let's start at the part of the cycle that feels like the beginning, even though it's really just another rotation. Things are good. He's present. He's texting consistently, making plans, showing affection, not in a performative way, in a way that feels real, grounded, like he's actually there. Emma breathes. Finally. She thinks, whatever was wrong before, we got through it. He's back. He chose this. And she lets herself relax into the connection. She opens up a little more, shares something vulnerable, suggests a weekend trip, talks about the future, not in a pressuring way, just in the way people do when they feel safe with someone. And from where she's standing, this is intimacy building. Two people getting closer, the relationship moving forward. But here's what's happening on his side. And this is not a guess. This is the documented behavioral pattern of someone with a dismissive-avoidant attachment style. His nervous system has a window. Think of it like a thermostat. There's a range of emotional closeness he can tolerate before his internal alarm system starts firing. And that range is narrower than Emma's, much narrower. During the good phase, he's inside that window. The connection feels manageable. He can show up without feeling overwhelmed. But every act of closeness, every vulnerable conversation, every plan that implies a future, every moment she moves a little deeper, nudges the thermostat higher. He doesn't feel this consciously. He doesn't sit there thinking, she's getting too close, I need to pull away. What he feels is something vaguer, a restlessness, a subtle irritation he can't explain, a creeping sense that something is closing in on him, even though nothing has actually gone wrong. And then, without a clear reason either of them can point to, the shift begins. She notices it before she can name it. The texts get shorter. Not mean, just thinner. The warmth is still technically there, but it's like someone turned the temperature down 2 degrees. Enough to feel, not enough to confront. Emma's system picks it up instantly. Her internal radar, the one she's had since childhood, the one calibrated to detect the earliest possible sign of emotional withdrawal, starts pinging. And she does what her system was trained to do. She moves toward him, tries to close the gap, sends an extra text, suggests they talk, asks if everything's okay. From her side, this is completely rational. She sensed a distance, and she's trying to repair it before it becomes a rupture. That's not clingy. That's a reasonable response to a real shift she correctly identified. But here's what her reasonable response triggers in his nervous system. Her moving closer, the extra text, the "are you okay?", the bid for reassurance, registers in his system as more closeness. And his thermostat is already past its limit. So her attempt to fix the distance actually increases his need to create it. This is the part of the cycle that drives women insane. Because from the outside, it looks like the more she tries, the further he pulls. And she reads that as rejection, as punishment, as proof that her needs are too much. But what's actually happening is mechanical. His nervous system has crossed its tolerance threshold, and it's now running what attachment researchers call deactivating strategies, a set of unconscious behaviors designed to restore emotional distance so his system can regulate back to baseline. He might get busier suddenly. Work might become urgent. He might become vaguely critical, not about anything specific, but about the relationship in general. He might stop initiating plans. He might need more space without being able to articulate what space means or why he needs it. And to Emma, every one of these behaviors feels personal. Every one of them sounds like, "You're not enough. You're too much. I'm losing interest." But they're not about her. They were never about her. They're about a nervous system that learned, long before she existed, that closeness beyond a certain point is dangerous. And the only way it knows how to survive that danger is to shut down and pull away. Now he's gone. Not officially. He hasn't ended anything. He's just absent, responding but not initiating, present but hollow, technically still in the relationship while emotionally checked out of it. And this is where Emma enters her own spiral, the hypervigilance, the rereading, the late-night analysis of what went wrong. She starts adjusting herself. Maybe she was too intense. Maybe she asked for too much. Maybe she needs to pull back and give him the space he seems to want. So she tries something that costs her everything. She stops reaching out, not because she wants to. Every cell in her body is screaming at her to text him, to call him, to drive to his apartment and demand an answer. But she forces herself to go quiet. Maybe a friend told her to. Maybe she read somewhere that giving him space would bring him back. And here's the part of the cycle that will make you want to throw your phone across the room. It works. Not because the advice was right, not because space heals anything, but because of what her silence does to his nervous system. When she stops pursuing, when the texts slow down, when the bids for connection dry up, when her name stops appearing on his screen, his system registers something unexpected. The threat of closeness recedes. His thermostat drops back into the comfortable range, and as it does, something else activates, his attachment system's proximity alarm. Because here's what most people don't understand about avoidant attachment. It's not that he doesn't have an attachment system. He does. It's just suppressed, overridden by the deactivating strategies that keep closeness at arm's length. But when the other person actually starts to disappear, when the pursuit he's been unconsciously relying on stops, his own fear of loss wakes up, not as a conscious thought, not as, "I miss her," in the way she would mean it, more like a low hum of discomfort, a sense that something is slipping away, a quiet unease that makes him pick up his phone and do the thing that resets the whole cycle. He reaches out, and this is the moment the entire cycle hinges on. He texts, or calls, or shows up. And it's not a grand gesture. It rarely is. It's casual, maybe a meme, maybe a, "Hey, been thinking about you," maybe a reference to an inside joke, something small enough that he can retreat from if she doesn't respond, but loaded enough that she knows exactly what it means. And Emma's entire body reacts. The relief is physical. The knot in her chest loosens. The fog lifts. The obsessive thoughts quiet. And in that flood of neurochemical relief, dopamine, oxytocin, the full cocktail, her brain does what it's been trained to do. It writes a story. He came back. He always comes back. That means something. That means he cares. That means, underneath all the distance and confusion, he does love me. He just struggles with it. And if I'm patient enough, if I love him well enough, eventually the good version will stay. This story isn't delusional. It's the most logical interpretation available to her based on the data she has. He left, he returned. That looks like choice. And choice implies feelings. And feelings imply love. But here's what the data doesn't show her. He didn't come back because he missed her. He came back because she stopped chasing, and her absence triggered his proximity alarm. The return isn't about wanting her closer. It's about restoring the distance to a level his system can manage. He needs her near enough to quiet the alarm, but not so close that it triggers the deactivation again. He's not oscillating between loving her and not loving her. He's oscillating between two fears: the fear of being engulfed by closeness and the fear of losing connection entirely. And she is the body he moves toward and away from as his nervous system bounces between those two walls. That's not love. That's regulation. And she is not his partner in that equation. She's his emotional thermostat. So let's say it clearly. Because Emma needs to hear this, and if you're in this cycle, so do you. His return is not proof that you matter to him. His return is proof that his nervous system needs a certain level of connection to feel stable. And you've become the source it reaches for when the balance tips too far toward isolation. He doesn't come back when he realizes he loves you. He comes back when your absence starts to feel uncomfortable. And the timing confirms it every single time. Notice when he reappears. Not when you're crying, not when you're begging, not when you're visibly falling apart and in desperate need of him. He reappears when you go quiet, when you start posting again, when you seem okay, when you stop orbiting him and start building a life that doesn't revolve around his next text. That's when he shows up, because that's when his system senses you slipping out of range. And if that pattern sounds familiar, if he always seems to text right when you're starting to breathe again, it's not coincidence, and it's not some deep psychic connection between your souls. It's a nervous system that's been monitoring your availability the entire time and knows exactly when to pull you back in. The hardest truth in this entire video is this: every time you interpret his return as evidence that he loves you, you hand the cycle another rotation. You reset the clock. You give the pattern permission to continue. Not because you're foolish, but because the alternative means accepting something that feels unbearable, that he can keep coming back over and over without it meaning what you need it to mean. I know how heavy that lands. I know that part of you is already pushing back, but my situation is different. But he said things, but there were moments that were real, and maybe some of those moments were real. I'm not here to tell you that nothing he felt was genuine. Avoidant attachment doesn't mean absence of emotion. It means the inability to sustain closeness when emotions get too intense. He may very well care about you, but caring about someone and being able to stay, those are two completely different capacities. And confusing them is what keeps you waiting by a door that opens just often enough to stop you from locking it. Emma hasn't locked hers yet, but something is shifting. The last time he texted after 2 weeks of silence, the usual pattern, the casual message timed perfectly to the moment she was starting to feel like herself again, she didn't respond immediately. Not as a strategy, not as a game. She just sat with it for a minute, read his words without the usual flood of relief, and for the first time, instead of asking herself, "What does this mean?" she asked a different question. "What does this cost me?" She didn't answer it that night. She's still working on it. But the fact that the question exists at all, the fact that his name on her screen now triggers a pause instead of an automatic reopening, that's not nothing. That's the first crack in the cycle, and cycles don't break all at once. They break when someone inside them starts seeing the machinery instead of the story. When the return stops feeling like a love scene and starts looking like what it is, a pattern, a mechanism, a nervous system doing what nervous systems do. You can't control whether he comes back. He probably will. They usually do. But you can control what happens next. And next starts with one decision that your whole body will fight you on, but your mind already knows is right. His return is not your answer. You are your answer. And you always have been.